Before we even get into the stats, the rankings, or the draws, I need to start somewhere else entirely. There's a moment in tennis that doesn't happen often. It's not a trophy. It's not a ranking number. It's not a flashy upset screenshotted on social media at 2 in the morning. It's quieter than all of that. It's the moment when someone who has spent their entire professional life studying greatness, coaching it, shaping it, protecting it, stops what they're doing, watches a young player for a few minutes, and goes completely still. That happened recently at Indian Wells. And the man who went still? His name is Paul Annacone. Who is Paul Annacone? And why does his opinion matter more than almost anyone else's? Let's set the stage properly because I think a lot of people skip this part and they shouldn't. Paul Annacone is not a television personality who picks up a microphone and says nice things about players for ratings. He's not a former journeyman coach who picked up some celebrity clients and rode the wave. This man was a world number 12 player himself. He knows what it feels like to compete at the top. He knows what separates good from great from once in a generation, not from a textbook, but from lived experience on those same courts. And then he became a coach. Not just any coach. He coached Pete Sampras during some of the most dominant years of Sampras's career. If you know tennis history at all, you understand what that means. Sampras was a machine, a methodical, relentless, technically immaculate machine, and Annacone was the man helping run that engine. Then, after Sampras retired, Annacone went on to coach Roger Federer. Think about that for a second. The man who is widely regarded as the most technically beautiful tennis player who has ever lived, the guy whose footwork, racket preparation, spatial awareness, and shot selection look like something a film director would invent if they were trying to create the perfect tennis player, that man trusted Paul Annacone to help guide his game at the highest level. So when Paul Annacone says something meaningful about a player, genuinely meaningful, not just a polite television comment, it carries a different weight than almost anything else you will hear in this sport. Currently, Annacone is the coach of Taylor Fritz, the American #1. He's still deep in the game, still watching, still evaluating, and recently he sat down on Tennis Channel Live and talked about Alex Eala, what Annacone actually said, and why it hits differently than generic praise. Here's the thing about high-level coaches. They've all seen a lot. They've seen 1,000 talented juniors. They've seen girls who dominated at 16 and disappeared at 22. They've seen players who look like future world won S in practice and couldn't close matches when the pressure came. So when they give real specific praise, you listen, because they're not impressed easily. Annacone was discussing Eala in the context of her arrival at the 2026 Indian Wells Open, where she enters as the 31st seed, the highest-ranked Filipino player in WTA history. Let that land. The asterisk highest-ranked Filipino player in WTA history. She is 20 years old, and Annacone didn't just say she was talented. He pointed to specific technical qualities that he clearly had been watching for a while. He talked about her personality first, which told you something. She's got a smile that lights up a room. Now that sounds like a throwaway line, but from a coach who has worked with champions, that's actually saying something serious. It's saying she has a quality that survives pressure, because pressure dissolves a lot of smiles. He'd seen it 1,000 times. The players whose spirit holds when everything is going wrong, those are the ones who make history. Then he got into the actual tennis. He referenced her famous Miami run from 2025 where she entered as a wildcard ranked 140 and proceeded to dismantle Jelena Ostapenko, Madison Keys, and then Iga Swiatek on her way to the semifinals. He noted the way, she did it. The grace, the humility. She kind of did it with a lot of grace and humility, Annacone said. For me, it was terrific to see her take that match and watch her play after that and watch her try to continue to progress because I like her game. And then came the technical breakdown that I want you to pay attention to. She's got a lot of good hand-eye coordination and ability to take the ball early and redirect. 6 words. Ability to take the ball early. I want to sit in those 6 words for a moment because if you don't have a technical background in tennis, you might read right past them. But those 6 words are enormous. Why taking the ball early is the hardest thing to teach in tennis. Every serious tennis coach will tell you the same thing. You can teach footwork. You can teach a grip. You can drill a swing pattern 10,000 times until it becomes automatic. You can build strength, speed, stamina. All of that is coachable. But the instinct to take the ball early, to read the incoming shot fast enough, and trust yourself enough to step into it and redirect it before your opponent has settled back into position, that is not something you drill into someone. You either have it or you don't. You can refine it, you can encourage it, but you cannot manufacture it. It's the difference between reacting and anticipating. And Annacone, the man who coached Federer, arguably the greatest early ball striker in the history of the sport, is watching Alex Eala do this naturally. Think about what that means. Federer's entire offensive architecture was built on time theft. He would take the ball earlier than any opponent expected, which meant he was always attacking when the other player thought they still had a fraction of a second to breathe. That fraction of a second is everything in professional tennis. It's the difference between a defensive position and an offensive one. And Roger made that look effortless because for him it was effortless. It was instinct. Annacone coached that instinct for years. He knows what it looks like when a player has it genuinely versus when they're approximating it. He knows the difference, and he's saying Eala has it.
Let me tell you the actual story of this person, because it's important context.
Alexandra Maniego Eala was born on May 23, 2005 in Quezon City, Philippines. She started playing tennis at age 4. Think about that. She has literally been doing this for 16 years already. At 12 years old, she won the prestigious Le Petit Ars tournament in France, one of the most important junior under-14 competitions in the world. At 13, her family made a decision that would define everything that followed. They sent her to Spain, to the Rafa Nadal Academy in Manacor, Mallorca. The Rafa Nadal Academy is not a tennis club. It's not a facility where you show up, hit some balls and go home. It is a full immersive development environment where some of the world's most talented young players are put through serious, structured, years-long development programs built on the same principles that shaped Nadal himself: physical relentlessness, tactical intelligence, mental resilience, and complete commitment to improvement. Eala spent 7 years there. 7. She graduated in 2023, with Nadal himself handing her a diploma. 7 years of that culture. 7 years of watching and absorbing what serious tennis professionalism looks like from the inside. And it shows. Her junior career was extraordinary. In 2020, at 14 years old, she won the Australian Open Junior Doubles. The following year, she won the French Open Junior Doubles. In 2022, she became the first Filipino ever to win a Grand Slam singles title at the junior level, claiming the US Open Girls Singles crown. Then the senior, and rightfully so. She entered as a wildcard, world number 140, playing in a WTA 1000, the second highest tier of tournament in women's tennis. She had no expectation of going deep. That was not the narrative. And then she started winning. She beat Jelena Ostapenko, a Grand Slam champion, a player known for her aggressive, explosive ball striking, someone who can blast opponents off the court on any given day. Eala beat her. Then she beat Madison Keys, the 2025 Australian Open champion. No, 15 in the world, a power hitter with one of the most dangerous serves on tour. Eala won 6-4, 6-2. It wasn't even close. Then Iga Swiatek, the no-2 player in the world, 5-time Grand Slam champion, the player who had dominated women's tennis for years. 2 years earlier, Swiatek had attended Eala's graduation ceremony at the Rafa Nadal Academy, invited by Nadal himself. Eala beat her 6-2, 7-5. In the aftermath, Nadal posted on social media, "Congratulations, Alex. What a great win for you and for the Philippines." Eala made it all the way to the Miami semi-finals before falling to Jessica Pegula. But what she had already done by that point was historic. She became the first Filipino ever to beat a WTA top 10 player, the first ever to reach a WTA 1000 semi-final, and she did it with a style that made people lean forward in their seats and pay attention. Fast forward to now. Eala came into 2026 with genuine momentum. She reached the semi-finals at Auckland in both singles and doubles. She reached the quarterfinals in Abu Dhabi. She reached the quarterfinals in Dubai, where she beat Jasmine Paolini, a top 10 player, 6-4, 6-2. That Dubai run pushed her to a career-high ranking of number 31 on February 23, 26. World number 31, at 20 years old, the highest-ranked Filipino player in WTA history. And now she's at Indian Wells, seeded 31st at one of the biggest tournaments of the year. She has a first-round bye as a seeded player. The draw has placed her as a potential third-round opponent for Coco Gauff, the American 4th seed and one of the biggest names in the women's game right now. She beat Gauff just recently in Miami a year ago. The rematch storyline is already there, simmering. But before any of that, she has to handle what's in front of her. One of the things Annacone pointed out in his television channel live appearance was the fan factor. And I think it's worth pausing on this because it's a bigger deal than it might seem at first. The fan stuff is always fun to me, Annacone said, because whenever you see players from smaller countries, the fans are so passionate when they get to the top. He's not wrong. And with Eala, the fan support has reached a scale that no Filipino athlete in any racket sport has ever experienced. This is a country with a deep sporting culture, a passionate national identity, and until now, very little to celebrate in professional tennis. When Eala played at the Miami Open in 2025, the crowd presence was enormous. When she appeared in Abu Dhabi earlier this year, she talked about the Filipino community there coming out in force. Practice courts at tournaments have been overflowing with fans just wanting to watch her hit. The energy is real, and that energy creates pressure, not always the good kind. There have been players throughout tennis history who were beloved by their home countries and couldn't handle the weight of that expectation. It has broken people, but Eala's entire training background has been specifically designed to handle pressure. That is the Nadal Academy's foundational philosophy. Every drill, every practice session, every competitive game scenario at that facility is built around one question. Asterisk, what do you do when it matters? Asterisk, she's been answering that question for 7 years. Let's talk about what Eala actually does on a tennis court, because if you haven't watched her play, the descriptions alone don't do it justice. She is left-handed, which is already an advantage in tennis. Left-handed serve patterns hit to a different location in the service box than right-handed serves, which means opponents have spent most of their careers practicing returns against the opposite ball flight. It's a cognitive disruption that accumulates over the course of a match.
Her forehand is the weapon. It's flat, it's early, and it's powerful. She uses her forehand to dictate. She doesn't wait for opportunities. She manufactures them by hitting with enough pace and placement to push opponents into uncomfortable positions and then attacking what comes back. Her two-handed backhand is her more conservative wing, consistent, reliable, a stabilizer. She'll use it to keep the rally going while she sets up the forehand.
The serve is the current project. Analysts have noted that it lacks the pace and variation that the best servers on tour use to take pressure off their ground game. Her first serve percentage has reportedly climbed to around 68% recently, which is improvement, but it remains a work in progress. She has spoken publicly about focusing on this, but the thing that ties it all together, the thing that Annacone was identifying, is the timing, the early ball contact, the willingness and ability to step into the court and take the play away from the opponent before they expect it. That is what separates the players who are good from the players who are genuinely dangerous. Eala is genuinely dangerous. Here's what I want to leave you with, because I think the significance of this moment is easy to underestimate if you're not paying close attention. Paul Annacone did not have to say what he said. He's not Alex Eala's coach. He's not being paid to promote her. He's the coach of an American player, Taylor Fritz, who is competing in the same circuit. He has no particular incentive to publicly build up the competition. He said what he said because he watched her and what he saw was real. The hand-eye coordination, the early ball contact, the ability to redirect under pressure. These are not things you say about every young player who wins a few matches. These are specific, technical observations from a man whose eye was trained by years of working with the most technically excellent players in the history of the game. When Roger Federer was asked about his legacy, he often said he hoped younger players would carry the idea that tennis could be beautiful, that it wasn't just about power but about elegance, about variety, about playing with intelligence as much as physicality. Annacone coached Federer. He knows what that looks like from the inside. And he's telling us in his measured, specific, professional way that something in Alex Eala's game reminds him of those principles. That is not a small thing. Alex Eala is 20 years old. She is the 31st best tennis player on the planet. She is from a country that had never had a player anywhere near this level before. She trained for 7 years in one of the most demanding tennis academies in the world. She has beaten Grand Slam champions. She has carried the weight of an entire nation's expectations and not cracked under it. And now one of the most respected coaching minds in the modern history of the sport is watching her and saying he likes what he sees. She hasn't won a Grand Slam. She hasn't cracked the top 10. There are still enormous challenges ahead. The serve needs to develop. The consistency on hard courts through long tournaments needs to be proven. The pressure of expectation will only grow. But watching someone who is this good at this age with this foundation, with this kind of external recognition from people who genuinely know what they're talking about, this is not something you want to miss. The Indian Wells courts are waiting. The draw is in front of her. And somewhere in a coaching box or a television broadcast booth, Paul Annacone will be watching. And if what he said is right, and he usually is, then we are very much at the beginning of something. If you're new to Alex Eala and want to go deeper, drop a comment below on what you'd like covered next. Her technical game breakdown, her full 2025 Miami run, or a match preview for her Indian Wells campaign. Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss what's coming.